Welcome to Wellspring on the Air. I'm Nicole Alfonzo, a therapist at Wellspring and the host of today's show about mom guilt. With me today to discuss this interesting topic is Alicia Foss. Together, we want to tell you about mom guilt and how to work through it. So stay with us. We've got some interesting insights just for you. Welcome, Alicia, once again to our show. I love that you have come to this topic, and this is just such a huge topic for us moms. And so we'll dive in just a minute, but could you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Yes, thank you, Nicole, for having me. So my name is Alicia Foss, and I am a registered marriage and family therapist here at Wellspring. I've been at Wellspring a little bit, I think about 3 years now, and my specialty is in marriage and in parenting.
Awesome. So today's topic is mom guilt. And I think every single mother at some point or another, right, struggles through this feelings of guilt at some point. So maybe as we're raising our children, maybe even once our children are adults and we look back, right, and think, oh gosh, I could have done this differently or that or whatever. So Alicia, define for us what mom guilt is.
Yeah. So I think you just, nailed it, Nicole. Mom guilt is that feeling that you're not doing enough. It is the feeling that kind of sets in that I'm not doing enough. Am I messing up my kids? It's really kind of this feeling of confusion. Am I spending enough time with my child? Am I setting appropriate boundaries? So it's just this feeling that kind of comes into you, that feeling of things you think things don't seem right, or you kind of feel confused, or you're unsure. It's that feeling as a mom that maybe am I kind of not guiding my kids down the correct path? And so, as you said, a lot of moms feel this. I think you can feel it when our kids are young. You can feel it when their kids are older. But really, this feeling of mom guilt seems to be really a generational feeling that I think a lot of moms through the years, as back far as you and I can think, have felt this feeling at some time, at some point in raising kids. They have felt that feeling of mom guilt.
Yes. And so I think obviously we all made mistakes, right, in raising children, just because there's no manual, right? We just kind of have to figure it out as we go. None of us is perfect, and God does not expect us to be perfect. It's all about progress, not perfection. So tell us, where does this come from? Why do we have these feelings of guilt, like we're doing it wrong?
Well, I think the first one is that we as moms at times have these unrealistic high expectations. Okay. So I think, moms at times, they have this expectation that my house has to be perfectly clean, that my kids need to be involved in every activity, that, I need to be running the marathon, that I need to be making organic food, right? So it's these unrealistic expectations.
Oh my gosh, Alicia, it's funny, but it's true. Like we do have this mindset of everything has to be perfect and I have to be feeding my kids the best food and the house has to be perfect and all these pressures.
Yes. And that's it. It's all these unrealistic pressures that we put on ourselves as moms. And I think a lot of times is we have this because that could have been modeled for you growing up. You could have seen your mom do that, or your grandma or your aunt or someone. It could have been modeled for you growing up. At times we do a lot of comparing.
Yes.
As moms is that we compare a lot. And that's a lot of times where the guilt will come to, is these unrealistic high expectations that kind of sometimes can be, kind of coupled with the comparison that, my neighbor, look at her kids, they all have the straight A's, and oh, look at her, she's out running at 4 a.m. and oh, they have the perfect marriage, and she has all these tutors or whatever. And so I think the unrealistic high expectations and comparison is really, it tends to be where a lot of moms get this guilt from. They are thinking they need to be someone that they're not. And, it really leads into a little bit with, us knowing that God has given us the kids he wants us to have. He does not make a mistake. And God says, Nicole, I am giving you these 2 kids because I know, Nicole, that I'm entrusting you with him. And I know you, only Nicole, can do the best for those kids. And Alicia, I'm giving you your 3. So it really does come down to realizing that God has put us where he wants us and has put us in the place and has given us the kids we want. So
Awesome. Yes. And that is true. And we have to remind ourselves of that, right? We are
Yes.
capable because we have been called
Yes.
to do that work with those particular children that God has given us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how can we handle these feelings? It feels yucky. I mean, as a mom, it doesn't feel good to have to feel like I'm not doing it right. I'm not doing enough, right?
Right.
How do we handle these feelings in healthy ways?
Well, the first one, talking about, the expectations. Okay. So I think the unrealistic expectations, touching a little bit on that is for us to really know that, to know that truth, right? Where are these expectations? Maybe kind of doing a little soul searching, maybe talking to someone, maybe talking to a therapist or talking to someone that you can trust and say, these are the expectations I have on myself. Are these realistic? And really praying about them, really allowing maybe someone that you trust to speak some truth to you, because that's where it is. It's really knowing what is the truth, right? Is the truth that I'm putting these on me, or are these just, regular expectations, right? Where are these coming from? That's the first thing, is really being able to do a little bit of soul searching. And then the comparison is, where is that coming from? Why is it that maybe you're not feeling content in your life situation? There could be many reasons for that. Okay. And I think, again, as Nicole had said so profoundly, this is progress. This is progress that every woman, every mom at every stage, as Nicole had said, you could have adult children, you could have infants, you could be pregnant. This is progress. So even if you're struggling with both of those, again, we all struggle, and that's okay. It's first, really being able to allow yourself to maybe be ministered to and allowing the truth. So I think that's one step.
Yes. And I to speak to that, I feel like as moms, we get a little lost, right? We kind of forget us because we're like in this go, take care of kids, be the good wife, all this stuff. And we forget about our needs. And that can even affect this guilt thing, because now all of our attention is on parenting, right? Instead of like a balanced attention, right? Me, my husband, my kids, like it's balanced. Now it's like all on the kids. So we're always thinking like, am I doing this right? Right. It's so hyper focused,
right?
That we lose sight that our kids also want a healthy mom. Our kids also want a mom that takes care of ourselves. Our kids need to see a mom that is strong, confident, and feels worthy, right? These are things we're modeling. So if we lose ourselves, we're losing that lesson for our kids, that they can see a mom that can be healthy, right? Can say, oops, I did it wrong, but I'm going to do it different. Or you know what? I need time for mom. Mom needs her time, right? And all these things that are also great lessons for kids to learn. And so anyway, I kind of went on a tangent there, but like we need to take care of ourselves.
Absolutely.
And we forget that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Nicole, that is so, I think that probably should have been our foundation to today's show, right? Is for us, because when we're not taking care of ourselves, right? This is where what you just said is so right on, Nicole, because then we are having this unrealistic expectations. Then we are comparing because we haven't taken care of ourselves and said, this is who I am. I am not the mom that enjoys doing this, or I'm not the, and that's okay, because again, it goes back to you knowing that God has created you and has given all of us different giftings, different lives. None of us have the same life, and God has given you exactly what you need, and just like holding on to that, and that comes through taking care of yourself, knowing who you are, right? Having that self-worth, having that self-confidence that this is who I am, and I know who I am, and I can trust in that and rest in that and know exactly who I am. But again, it comes through being able to have that self-reflection time, which is coming through to having self-care, doing the things that take care, because again, all the stuff we're talking about today in mom guilt is saying you need to take care of yourself so you can take care of your kids, right? You have to do this so you can do that. And that again goes back to the mom guilt of, well, am I not spending time with myself? Oh goodness, am I not? No, that's okay, right? Again, this is progress. And sometimes we have to be able to spend time with ourselves to have less guilt, to know that some things can fall some things don't need to be done every day. Some things don't have to happen. Your child does not need to be involved in 10 different activities or even 3 different activities. And there's a season for rest. Maybe there is no activities, and that's okay too.
Yes. And I will go ahead and give an example of me. I learned that I'm not a cook. Mm-hmm. And I can manage and I can survive, but I'm not the organic person. I'm not the, oh my gosh, spend 2-3 hours in the kitchen. And I have learned to be okay with that. And my husband has learned that that's part of me as well. And so now we do order meals, healthy meals from someone to come bring them to us because I rather spend my time doing something else. And I'm totally fine with that. And my husband is totally fine with that. And we're like, okay, it's okay. Amen. Now, other parents might think of me as like, oh my gosh, she is such a bad parent because she doesn't spend time making the meals for her kids. That's your thing. I'm good. That's and right, that's Nicole. What it means. It means I'm okay with me and my limitations and my weaknesses or whatever it is that I, bring to the table.
Yeah. Right? And I think that is such a beautiful example, Nicole, because again, you're okay with that. You are okay with that. You are saying, my husband and I, we are okay with it. And that's really something I think to speak to is that we have to allow each person and we have to accept and say that is what okay for their family. Some families are okay with, okay, we're going to order these healthy foods. That's okay for them. And maybe some other families might say, no, for us, we enjoy spending 2 hours in the kitchen. That's our family time. Yeah. We're in the kitchen, he's doing this, right? So it's different for each family and not having guilt from that. Absolutely.
Yes. Being okay with whatever your family is okay with, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so let's dive into making time to build the connection with our kids.
Yes. So so one thing that a lot of moms will say, in different sessions that I have when doing parenting or marriage is, how much time do I need to give to my children? How much time is appropriate, right? What are the studies showing? So I will say that the studies are showing now that spending about 20 to 30 minutes of undivided attention a day is really what is needed for your child to feel that healthy, emotional, mental, spiritual connection to their mom. Okay. So really it's not that much time. It's 20 to 30 minutes, but it is undivided. It is really kind of taking that time to pour into your child, to really listen to your child, to have some, if they're, of age, engaging in conversation with your child. If they're younger, playing with them, having that face-to-face, that eye contact with them. So it is 20 to 30 minutes a day. I said, it depends on your child. Some children maybe need more of that, closer to 30 minutes if they are more of that extrovert style child and really engage, and that really is their love language is time, really it may need a little bit closer to 30. But some children will feel fulfilled and will feel that connection at 20 minutes, but this is one way that I encourage moms, if they're struggling with the mom guilt, just spend 20 to 30 minutes and you will notice that you're going to feel fulfilled. You're going to feel that connection. So the mom guilt should diminish, right? You're feeling fulfilled and knowing that your little child or big child, whoever it is feeling that connection. And that really does help a lot with that feeling of mom guilt.
And let's be honest, we can do 20 to 30 minutes on social media, on our phones, right? So we can do 20 to 30 minutes with our kids playing a board game, throwing the ball. I mean, anything that your kids like. Mine is very active. So we actually have conversations while we play something like throw the ball or do something like that, because that's when he opens up more. So that's kind of, but everybody has a different way. And so identify what is the way your kids connect. Most kids do connect through play. And spend that 20 to 30 minutes. It'll make such a big difference in your relationship with your kids and also in that feeling of guilt, like, no. And remember, quality over quantity.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to take a short break to thank one of our sponsors who makes the production of our podcast possible. When we come back, we'll hear more from Alicia about what God says about guilt. Welcome back to Wellspring on the Air. This is Nicole Alfonzo. If you're just joining our show, our topic today is about mom guilt. So far today, we've talked about what is mom guilt and where mom guilt stems from. If you joined us late, you can find us on our favorite podcast channel on Wellspring on the Air or on our website blog page at wellspringmiami.org. Just search for this topic, mom guilt. So, Alicia, what does God say about guilt?
Yeah. That is really a question that a lot of people will say. And I think, if you look at the scriptures, right? What does God say about guilt? God has come to set us free, right? And it's just like knowing that God has come to set us free. John 3:17 says, "For God did not send his son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved," right? So we know that God did not send his son to condemn us. He did not come to say, "Oh, you should feel guilty," and to shake his finger. That is not why God came, right? Or even 2 Corinthians 5:21, it says, for he made him who knew no sin to be sin for us, that we might become the righteous of God in him, right? Mm-hmm. So God came to take away the sins of the world, right? That's the reason he came, was to take away the sins and to set us free. And so it's really hard when we are feeling that guilty. It's hard for us to remind ourselves that God did come to set us free, that God did not come to condemn us. It's hard for us. But one thing I always say is that when we have that guilt, okay, is when you may have that little feeling of guilt, like, oh, maybe I've snapped at my child, or maybe I haven't spent enough time with my child, or maybe I've spent too much time on social media, right, in front of my child, right? I always say is that, okay, maybe you have done those things, okay? But God said, come to me, right? I did not come to condemn you. He says, come to me. I have come to take your sin. I have come to set you free. I have come to love you. So just go to him. God, I've done this. Help me make it right, right? And so what do? We go to our child and say, I'm sorry that I snapped at you, or I'm sorry that I have spent too much time on the phone and not enough time connecting with you, right? That's the blessing that God has given us, is to make things right each day. Every day is a new day. Every hour is a new hour. So it's the blessing of knowing I can go and apologize if needed to my child, and to know that God says, I've forgiven you. It's okay. It's okay. I love you.
Those moments are so special when it happens with me. I have to say, when I go apologize to my daughter and she's like, I forgive you. It's really a special moment of release, of freedom, because you don't have to hang on to it, right? You don't have to add them all up, right? Add all the bad things you do as a parent, right? You don't have to do that. And God says that. God says, you do not have to add up all your sins. I will release you from that immediately if you come to me and ask me for forgiveness and to help you, right? It's all about that grace and forgiveness. And not only that, we're modeling for our kids how you do relationship, right? Every relationship is going to have mess ups, and every relationship will need apologies, right? And so here is how you're modeling it to your kids so that they could have successful relationships, successful marriages, right? When they grow up, because that is what it's all about. It's about grace, letting things go, forgiving things, right? And being able to learn from them and move forward. So, yeah.
Right, Nicole. I think it's a beautiful thing. What you just said is, I'm able to go to my daughter or whoever, your son, and they say, I forgive you. And so, like you just said, it's about the relationship, and so that's what it is. As parents, it's a relationship with our child. And as you just said, we're modeling that for them. And so when we do mess up, which we all are going to mess up, right? We, all of us. And that's why God sent his son, because he knows we're all going to mess up. Yeah. And what does he do? He says, I forgive you. I forgive you. I forgive you. And I will continue to forgive you. And I'm here and I love you. And to come to him, right? To go to the Lord and just allow him to lavish his love on you, just to spend time with God. Because, when we're feeling that guilt, really what will encourage us is being able to go to God and say, God, I'm feeling this way, and allowing him to minister you and to work through those feelings with you. Right. And that's,
Yes.
the blessing of having a heavenly Father that loves us so much, is that being able to go to him, and then for him to be able to just lavish his love on us, and just to say, I love you. And then you'll feel that fulfillment through God, right? Through the Spirit, and
Yes.
you're able to pour that onto your kiddos. And so, all those things, but it's about a relationship, right? The relationship with God, and then a relationship with our kids.
Yes. Thank you, Alicia. So there's some studies that show that moms who work outside the home have greatest feelings of guilt, right? Because maybe they feel like they're not spending enough time, right? Present with their kids. I do want to say that I do think that the moms who work full time are missing that they're teaching their kids other life skills also, right? So
yeah,
we'll talk about the guilt, but I think that moms who work outside of the home are teaching work ethic, responsibility, punctuality, independence, right? To rely on self, not mom all the time. These are essential for being productive, healthy adults. So I don't want these moms to miss this,
Yeah, that's excellent, Nicole. You're so right on. They're modeling this, like you said, Nicole. Their punctuality. Okay, I have to be on time for work, right? I'm independent. I can love my kids, love my husband, and still be able to work. You're absolutely correct. They really are. And so, I think sometimes the guilt of what I'm not doing takes over instead of what are you doing? And I say that, I encourage, let's switch the mindset, right? Like Nicole just said, I am showing them this. I am modeling this for my children. Okay. And so our mind so much is again, we have these unrealistic expectations. We're comparing ourselves. We maybe through relationships growing up, through our relationship with our mom or your caregiver or whoever, maybe you kind of saw that modeling of guilt and fear. And so again, we kind of take that on because that was modeled for us. Right. And so we kind of get into this narrow list, but as Nicole is saying, why not looking at it, freeing ourselves from that and saying, this is what I am doing. I am helping to provide for my kids. I am showing them a hard work ethic. I am showing them that life is about working hard, and I'm modeling that, so it's kind of switching that mindset, that narrative in our head to what am I doing? What am I modeling?
Yeah. And since the research says that 20 to 30 minutes is what you need, even as a working parent, you can do those 20, 30 minutes, so it's possible. Again, I repeat, it's about quality, not quantity, right? It's important. That's really important. So let's talk about general impact of mom guilt, just in general.
Yeah. So, in general, mom guilt will at times, can lead to some feelings of anxiety, can lead to some feelings of depression, right? So it is something, if you are feeling that mom guilt, a few things that I would encourage you to do is really kind of take some time to talk to somebody, okay, and say, where is this guilt coming from? Is it coming, as Nicole and I have stated, throughout this show today, is it coming because that was modeled for you? Okay. And so sometimes maybe it's modeled, or maybe you as a child maybe felt some feelings of loneliness because your mom did work a lot and didn't give you that 20 to 30 minutes a day, right? Maybe you are thinking, oh, I'm working and now I'm kind of repeating what my mom did. And I felt this way, so my child must feel that way, right? And so being able to work through some of those feelings with someone, knowing that maybe you felt that way, and I'm sorry you felt that way, and you being able to work through that, but knowing that if you are different, right, with your child, giving your child that 20, 30 minutes and spending time, that your child probably doesn't feel that way, right? So really knowing, where is this coming from? Are you having unrealistic high expectations? Are you comparing yourselves? Or are you just maybe someone in general that sometimes kind of is anxious and is maybe parenting out of fear, right, which can lead to guilt. So really being able to know where it's coming from. When you know it's where it's coming from, knowing that, as we have said, that God has come to set us free from that, knowing that God has given you the children that he wants you to have. God doesn't make a mistake. And so if you have 1 or 2 or 3 kids, how many kids you have, your life situation is not a mistake, and resting in that and knowing that God has given you everything that you need to raise and to love and to mold those children, and holding on to that on a daily basis, that I have everything I need because God loves me and he doesn't make a mistake. And he's giving you everything that you need to love and to shape and to mold those kids. And then again, as Nicole had said, so importantly, making sure you're taking time for yourself, because the more you spend time for yourself, you're going to feel refreshed. And so feeling refreshed will really help give you a clearer perspective and clearer mindset. That's really essential as well.
So I wanted to share a little bit about some of my guilt, because we're all in this together, right? Just because I'm a therapist doesn't mean I don't experience any of this, right? So I oftentimes have some guilt about not having the same quality time with my son than I have with my daughter. So as moms, I think we may feel like we have more in common with our girls. I know you have boys, Alicia. So the other day I did say to my son, hey, I want to spend more time with you. What are some things we can do together? And he obviously led me to this Amazon, to buy this Orbeez gun so we could do some shooting together. And I was like, okay. And then he also led me to a lacrosse stick so he could throw the lacrosse ball. I did used to play lacrosse in high school and he likes it. So I said, okay, I'm buying them so we can spend this time together. He's a total boy, 13 years old. But soon he's going to not want to be with me or do anything with me. So I had the conversation with him. I said, and I think moms listening right now can have that conversation. Hey, I want to spend, a little bit of time every day with you. What are some things that you would like to do with me together? And open that conversation up, right? Get to know our kids, what they want to do with us. My daughter likes to draw and color. And so just let's do that together with our kids every day. They're going to remember those things more than they're going to remember hard days. I think they will remember those connection days more than the hard days. And they're also going to remember the way we make up when hard things happen. They're going to remember that mom came and apologized and acknowledged that she might have done something that wasn't good. And it's all better, And that is true. I think that's what they will remember. But I want to say, because parenting does not come with a manual, we kind of need some guidance, and some guilt might come from, I don't know what to do because nobody's telling me what to do and I need guidance. So, in different stages of life. So if parents are feeling unprepared for certain stages regarding parenting, there are many resources out there, and we want to share just a few, Alicia, with them so that they know where to turn that can help them through the different stages.
Yeah. And I would say one of them really is Are My Kids on Track? By Sissy Goff. I know I promote that book a lot. It's a book that I actually lead through in a parenting group, but really this book, what is so great about this book is that it really does talk about your kid's social being, your kid's emotional being, and your kid's spiritual being. And so it really speaks to that and how you can reach each one of those needs of your kids. So if you're feeling that guilt, I'm not reaching them spiritually or emotionally, it speaks to that. So that's definitely one that I would really encourage. And then and then another one about straight talk with your kids about sex, that is another great one. And so being able to, I know some of us, all of us eventually will have to talk about that with our kids, and we want to do it in a practical and biblical way. And so that's another great one. And then, I think really just even, if you have other questions about parenting, I definitely would encourage you to look, we've talked about other things here at Wellspring, other podcasts that might be able to encourage you, or reach out to us here at Wellspring. And so I do think, the one thing is just to remember and just to be gentle with yourself, to be gracious to yourself as a mom, have grace. It's not easy parenting, especially nowadays, it's not easy. And so just to really hold on to and remember that God has given you what you need to parent those kiddos, and to hold on to that truth.
Amen. And I'll just wrap up by saying to all the moms out there listening, our kids want happy moms, not perfect moms.
That's right. Amen.
It's time to close out the show. Thank you, Alicia Foss, for joining us today and shedding light on the topic of mom guilt. We hope you were encouraged, moms. You were chosen by God to be your children's parents. It is about progress, not perfection. And thank you for joining our show today. Again, if you joined this program midstream, you can find this show and others on podcast at Wellspring on the Air, or on our blog on wellspringmiami.org. The title of today's show again was Mom Guilt. Encourage us and let us know you're listening by sending comments or questions to ontheair@wellspringmiami.org. It's time to wrap up. This is Nicole Alfonzo with Wellspring on the Air, because hearts and minds matter.